Yeah. Yeah, he gives you that look.
So, dude, I was looking through some old shit because I was talking to somebody this last weekend about like goals, and I was like, you got to like get your goals down, like get them straight. And
Yeah.
that was like, and the guy was like, he's a little older than me, and he's like, yeah, I haven't ever written down my goals, and I was like, I started doing it when I was like 15. So we're talking about it and whatever else. And it's like, I think I still got these like goal sheets because I know I have them somewhere.
Yeah.
And I had this box that was sitting in my closet. It's gone with me everywhere since I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of art stuff and any papers that I wanted to save, and I put it in there. And so I go that night. I go back to my house and I'm like looking for these goal sheets. And I mean, it was like such dumb shit at times, but also some that was like really, really like long term, 10-year kind of thing. Where do I want to be?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. And like the goals always kind of like were your North Star, and so you're always like kind of going towards them. You might veer off one way or another, but like you're always making progress towards that goal. So that's what I was talking to him about. So I went and looked for him. I couldn't find any of my goal sheets, but in the box I found a whole bunch of artwork from when I was like 10, 11, 12.
Wait, so you're
I thought it was really funny because you were a part of some of this shit where we like wrote our own comic books. This is a cover. That's a number one. Dude, I even made up my own comic book company.
Yeah, we did this.
Lightning Comics.
We would do like the corner. Yeah, just like that. Where would be number one.
So this is 1993.
Oh my gosh, I wish you guys. Okay, for the people that can't see this, so this is Joe when he was writing up. So how old were you?
This is 11.
11.
Like 10 or 11.
10 or 11. Made his own comic book. His comic book character, his humble name of Joesophagus.
I like, but this is the kind of shit I don't even know. Here's another cover page.
You're like, I'm gonna Joesophagus.
Joesophagus versus Matagluff.
Matagluff.
I don't know, and apparently this might be Matagluff over here because I'm like trapped in a spider web.
Oh, these are.
But
so
dude, my
good.
outfit was like
book covers.
It was kind of like I looked like a Boba Fett, but like with zebra stripes all over me.
Yeah.
Like that was my costume.
You got very, like, this number one, very Boba Fett vibes right there. I don't know. That could have been like a copyright issue?
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, on this one, I lost the helmet, and now I got like this like little hairdo and a ninja mask.
You want to show some hair? So that's cool, man. Yeah, we used to do these, I remember this, man.
This is the Joesophagus Night Spirit. That's the plane that I fly around in.
Okay, hold on a second, though. I can't wait till we can put these on the screen for people to see, but I'm watching the aircraft part of Joesophagus' flying machine here, and it looks very much Star Wars vibes also.
That does, yeah. I was not knocking anything off.
It's not a Death Star, but it's...
But dude, then at some point along the way, I got a little darker.
It's good, though.
And then I started doing like pictures like this where... I think that I'm the lion, and then there's some guy smoking a joint.
Oh, smoking a joint. Are you still 11 here?
I'm probably 12 there, probably 12. And then this one is fucked up. That was a woman named Satan walking through like an alleyway with like people hanging in the background.
The one I was looking at that had the joint looked like some animal people. We had a lion, looks like a duck, and a frog. They look, they're cool, just hanging out on the street, just hanging out. But this one, hello, my name is Satan, is a chick with a Glock.
I don't know.
And there's people. This is scary, dude.
I know.
It's like this hallway of there's people hanging.
So Rachel's looking at these with me, and she's like, "What was going on with you?" I was like,
"It looks like Bob Wire. Is she like in a asylum, or
that might, dude. I wish I wrote notes on these. I didn't, but yeah.
Yeah, look that haircut too.
That's what's that? That's not the A line. What do you call that? That's like a very dominatrix fetish.
Yep.
Yeah, like where you got the firm bangs, the black hair, and like the sharp cut on the bottom. Yeah.
Very, very low cut, kind of like hospital.
I should go to Rachel and be like, "Can you do your hair like this? This has always been a dream of mine, to have somebody that looks like they're gonna murder me."
Oh my gosh.
And then this is where I started getting a little more creative. Like there was so much going on. Like
some
big tree and a rainbow and the roots coming down, and there's the sun with a weed in his mouth, and I don't know what the hell that is. It's a skeleton of some sort.
Yeah.
There's an angel fairy.
You had
somebody playing guitar. I don't know. There's just a lot of
There's
shit.
a devil. A devil.
Is that the
again.
devil?
It looks like the devil.
That
He's
is the
got
devil.
horns coming
Yeah.
out from the ground. There's fire.
He's right next to the angel.
Okay. Oh, yep. Wow. There's a lot that you're speaking here. This is good though. I like this.
So there's a lot of random shit. Bald eagle getting a fish.
Yeah.
America. America.
America.
Anyways, yeah. So kind of fun to
Yeah.
kind of fun to go back down memory lane.
Wait, hold on. There was one last one. Let me see. Don't take this away from me. Wait, you were pushing this one to the side. What is this?
I think that's El Chango Diablo.
That's El Chango Diablo.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, like that was one of Joe's nicknames growing up, especially in wrestling. El Chango Diablo. Him with his dreads and shit. Well, I mean that was later on, but I mean you were really called, Devil Monkey because you're hairy.
Yeah, that was part of it
crazy.
too.
You were wild.
Wasn't that wild?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Wasn't that wild?
It wasn't that wild.
Your parents let me hang out with you. Like, come on, Chris, go out there and do something dumb.
I think yeah.
No, so it was pretty fun though, like pulling these out, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot about all this stuff. And then Rachel had never seen it, and we've been together for like almost 10 years, and she's like, what was going on? I was like, yeah, just a box in my closet. She's like, glad to know you don't go through my shit.
Yeah. That's always fun though, dude. Like to find that takes me down like memory lane. We used to draw a lot. We were heavily into comic books and everything like that. And it was great to see like the comic books come back. I mean now it's been like years. Of, like, Marvel and stuff like that. But I think I mentioned it previously before, but maybe it's because I'm still like butthurt about it. But I did the first stock that I ever bought when I was 10 was Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they went bankrupt.
Yeah. That was a good foresight there.
And then they came back and they're making all this money right now, and I'm like, hey,
can you throw me a bone?
I was with you in the beginning.
How much did you invest?
Could you imagine?
How much when you were 10? How much did you invest?
I think it was like something like a couple $100s or something.
That's a big investment for a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
It'd be worth something right now if you
up.
bought into it. Well, I guess you'd have to buy into Disney, right?
Any scrap of money that I ever got from like grandparents or anything like that, I mean, I would save it. I was like, my dad would call me like a miser, but like I would like just have box of like I'd save, and that's what I saved it for. That was like my big.
And then you lost it all.
And then I lost it all. That
But
was like the starting of my college
You also
fund.
invested in comic books.
Yeah.
And comic cards, and that seemed to work out pretty well.
That paid off. Yeah.
You still have them all?
I do.
You still have
We should go through them sometime and like check them out.
Do you still have the Hulk with the
Hulk
introduction of Wolverine?
181?
Yeah.
Hulk 181.
And what do
Wolverine's
you
first
think it's
appearance.
worth? Did you get that appraised recently?
Yeah. It's a mint.
Okay.
Yeah. It's got all white pages. This is an important thing to note.
And it's in like a vacuum sealed container?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I got that I'm saving on too, but I feel like that's it right there. Hulk 181.
Wow.
So
that's real money, dude. That's one sold for $39,000.
Yeah. But that was a 9.8.
What is yours?
Mine's like a 9. Mine's like a 9.0.
Oh, so you're not like really mint.
I'm not. Well, because now, okay, so and this was important too because, and we found this out with comic cards and everything like, but like that was still in the age of like. So a 9.8, there's not how many 9.8s there are. So like every time everyone sends someone in to get graded, then they're gonna know how many 9.8s there are out there. And I don't think there's like very many. And this was also right before
there's
they
like
started mass producing. So
there's like a database of this shit?
Yeah, anytime that you submit for like a grading through CGC, they will
discover. Did Art just sign you up for this?
Hey, I need to buy Marvel stock. Hey, what are you? Art.
You're gonna get some spam. This will be funny.
No, what are you doing?
I'm helping you invest.
It's actually not. It's actually not Art doing this. AI is doing this for you, Chris.
Okay, Art's trying to sell my comic book. I'm not ready to sell, Art. Ready to sell my comic.
I'm ready to sell my comic.
Okay, you can no. Do not submit. Okay, can we?
All right, we're gonna. Well, we haven't even done the introduction.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Welcome to Go With Your Palate.
Yes, Go With Your Palate.
Joe Wagner with Chris Fat Mario Rubio.
Yeah,
and we are going to walk you through some wine, some entrepreneur stuff, and anything we want to talk about.
Whatever the fuck else.
As you can plainly see by how this whole podcast started.
Yeah.
So hopefully you like the bullshit banter and you pick something up from it. beyond just what the intention of
If this
of it
is
is. Yeah.
if this is your first episode, I mean, I maybe advise that you go back and review the past ones. Before you
There's
really
a lot
know
of
what you're
info
getting
in
into.
those.
Yeah.
There's a lot of info in
Yeah,
those. Yeah.
there's some good information. And if you're still here, thank you
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
going
Thank
on
you.
this crazy journey.
And
with
if you
us.
guys got subjects you want us to talk about,
yeah,
you can just email us. I mean, we want to know.
We're pretty open.
Pretty open. We'll find a way to navigate through anything. I mean, yeah,
I feel like the more controversy that you can also send us to, that like Joe likes that. He likes.
I mean, if
shit.
somebody was like, "We want you to tell us all the good things about Hunter Biden," I'd be like, "Dude, I'm done. I can't.
yeah,
Sorry,
well-
I can't. I don't know anything. I don't know."
we
Is he paying
don't
child
talk
support
about
now?
it.
I mean, that'd be a good thing. He's finally paying child support. Fucking had to get a paternity test. What a piece of shit. Did you fuck the stripper or not? You did. Okay. It's highly likely.
I just like the fact that we're like right now we're like in the category like wine entrepreneurship. Someone stumbles upon this and then just listens. Hey, we wake it up, we mix it up. That's what you've always done. That's what you did in the wine world.
Yeah.
That's what you've done. We're gonna actually be talking about brandy today.
We should talk about brandy. I know we were talking about alternative packaging for wines.
Yeah,
you call. You call it. Where do you want to start? What's in your mind right now?
This is a big one too, because I think we're seeing a lot more now with first of all, wine can. Also, to ask you about like the box wine, because I felt like, didn't you once in the past like mess around with box wine or no?
No,
That
never.
was-
I never
No.
put wine in a box,
You
but
never
I
put
have
wine in a box.
drunk wine in a box.
You have.
Yeah.
Frenzia?
No,
Franzia?
Dude, I hate to tell
Frenza?
you, I've never
Frenza?
done Franzia.
Franzia. Thank you.
Franzia. But like in college, you would do like the Tour de Franzia,
Yeah.
right? Where like you you didn't hear about this? The Tour de
And you
Franzia
do
would
all
be
the
like
boxes?
you go through all the
All the
different
boxes,
boxes
yeah.
of flavors
Yeah,
that Franzia
yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and then you do slap the bag. You pull that bag out of that box,
Yeah.
and you like hang it. And you got to slap it. Or no, that was the
You
Tour de
slapped
Franzia.
the box?
You slap the bag.
Okay, you slap the box. You slap the bag.
Yeah, you pull the bag out of the
You
box.
slap the fun
Slap
bags.
the bag, and then you got to chug it.
And then you chug out of the box.
Shitty wine out
Okay,
of a bag
yeah.
at this point.
So, okay.
So, but this is a
Wait.
life hack, okay? This is, dude, and I got to tell you, so like this past weekend, we had some guests in town,
Yeah.
and for whatever the fuck reason, they brought a Boda box of Sauvignon Blanc,
Oh.
and somebody opened it because I didn't open it. I had real wine in the fridge, so.
I like how you won't even. Somebody opened it. It wasn't me. I wouldn't open that box wine.
But so
But I used to slap them bags.
I'm like looking at it like 2 nights ago. Used to slap that bag. So I'm looking at it 2 nights ago, and I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot. I tasted it, and it was like actually like decent. So
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. I thought it'd be like sweet or funky or whatever, and it was like I was like, oh, okay, I get this. Like, I mean, it's not like a world class Sauv Blanc, but like if you're just looking for like something simple for like a picnic barbecue or something,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they're not making them shitty anymore. I don't know about Franzia, can't tell you about that one, but like the Boda box was all right, Black box was all right, like So, what is the good application for them? Well,
Yeah.
number one, cooking wine, because it. I'm gonna go through all of them, okay? All the box shit. This is the stuff I think about, because you can get 3 liters of wine for like $10-15.
Yeah.
And it's in a vessel that actually it's closing in on itself, so you're not pulling oxygen in, right?
Yeah.
So it'll actually last for, I would say, a couple weeks for cooking wine, and you're not using like your good whites and reds, whatever.
Can you age box wine? Can I pull out a box wine of 10 years and be like?
I would
yeah,
happily
tastes-
try it, but I doubt that it's going to taste any good.
It's not gonna hold up.
Dude, everything I've tasted that's in plastic of some sort, it degrades in like 6 months.
Okay.
It's a fast turn.
Yeah.
It's a fast turn thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And we did some experiments with like the these little carafes, like, because there are these like Copa de Vinos, whatever, that like have a seal on top. They're
Yeah.
they are shaped like a wine glass, and you rip the foil off the top. And those didn't hold up very well, and we never tried those. But we tried this other company, and I don't know if I should say the brand, but the cool idea was that it'd be a carafe that you filled up, so it might be like 2 glasses of wine,
Yeah.
and then you'd have like these 2 little plastic cups that are connected to it.
Yeah.
And so you bring it on a picnic. You pop that thing open, and now you've got a little carafe, like a little vessel. It's like a little tight sort of package that like looks good, feels good, so it's not just like crappy. The experiment with that, it didn't even last 6 months, and it was like supposed to be the right like type of plastic and everything. So we did like a pallet or so, and then tried it a few months later. Didn't work very well. Anyways, I think that there is a future for that. I just don't know when whoever creates those materials or whatever liner they got to put in them. But back to bag in the box.
Yeah.
So this is my favorite hack with a bag in the box. There is like some French rosé. I don't know how to say it. I think it's like La Vielle or what. I don't know.
Do you?
Dude,
Hold on
I don't
a second.
speak French.
Dude,
I don't.
I think you're like becoming like a full influencer. You're like losing your winemaking like brain, and you're just becoming like oh wait.
There you go. Yeah, La Vielle.
Whoa, hold on a second. Did Art just do that? Did he
Art just did that, dude. He just listened to me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He
I can't
understood
believe you heard that.
Wait, is it me that I can't understand?
Did you take French? Neither did I.
No.
Yeah, I don't know.
You did. I thought. Didn't
No,
you?
I didn't take French.
Not in high school.
I hooked up with a French girl.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Anyways, dude,
ahead.
I honestly like the hygiene from France is just not there.
Okay, let's. Maybe
Yeah.
we just. Okay.
One and done. All right, so okay, so this is the rosé, and this is the. It was a different package when I bought it, but I was going on a hike. We were in Colorado, and it was like a probably 5-6 hour hike round trip. And I had the kids, and like I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get all like picnic supplies, which is basically like baguette, cheese, salami, other like cured meats, and then just some basic drinks. And so I was like, but I wanted to bring some wine up there. There were 4 adults going, and then I don't know, like 10 kids. So I go to this wine shop in Colorado, and I find this thing, and I'm like, oh, asking the person, like me asking about like what box wine do you recommend? Like it's a pretty funny conversation. And so
Which box wine do you recommend?
And so the reason I wanted to get a boxed wine was that I wanted to bring an ice pack to keep everything cool.
Yeah.
And you can't freeze a bottle of wine without potentially having the cork push or the bottle breaking, right?
Yeah.
So I pull the bag out of this box, throw it in the freezer the night before. In the morning, as we're getting ready for the hike, I lay this down on the very bottom, put all the cheese on top, charcuterie on top of that, other stuff on top of that. And it kept everything nice and chilly until we get up to the top of this hill, this mountain, and like beautiful view of the Maroon Bells. It's like a gorgeous spot in Colorado. And we find like a shady spot, start pulling out all the shit, the knives and everything, and getting ready for this little picnic. And I pull this bag of rosé that's been frozen out of the bottom of my bag, and it was a slushy at this point.
Yeah.
And it was fucking amazing. Like it's just like,
because
it was also, I mean, it was literally like there were ice chunks in it. You weren't really thinking about like, oh, what are the nuances of this wine? It was just like, you just finished the whole uphill portion of this hike. Let's have a glass of wine and celebrate and reduce the weight, kept everything cold, and it was 3 fucking liters. Like that's a lot for 4 people.
Did you finish it?
That's a lot. That's four bottles. That's a bottle each. No, we didn't finish it actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I was an amateur.
That's actually a great hack. I like that.
Yeah, so that was
Freeze
cool.
it the night before. You use it to keep everything cold.
Yep.
And then when you get that time to enjoy it, it's kind of like you have a slushy, refreshing kind of drink.
Yeah. And it's
With your food
it's
and
so cold that
everything
if
keep
it did have, and I'll say that rosé didn't have any flaws, like it was just kind of a straightforward, easy drinking, quaffable sipper, right? And but if it did have any flaws, when you chill it down that much, like you're at slushy stage, you're not gonna really notice the flaws. So it's like it was good. So there's that. Yeah. So that cooking wine, picnic wine, that sort of thing. I mean, you're not gonna get the experience of a fine bottle of wine, but if you're just looking for something that can please, like that's pretty good. Canned wine, I actually have a problem with.
Okay, let's hear it.
Number one, there are way too many canned wines out there now. Like to the point where grocery stores, like they jumped in big time, right? And like they're like, all right, we're gonna open this from a 4-foot set to an 8-foot to a 12-foot. And so you had these massive sections of these stores that were dedicated to canned wines with all the new entrants coming in. And sure enough, only a few of them that people knew about that were really some of the early adopters of canned wine, they were the ones that were being successful. And it was typically just the whites or rosés. The red wines don't really like, it's hard to do a red wine in a can because you need some pressure in there, so you need to like sparge with CO2.
Yeah.
And that doesn't go well with red wine, so like I just don't see that as being like a long-term, benefit to the wine world. But I've had better box wine than I've had canned wine. I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But still, it just steps up every time, right? So like you get into bottles and whatever else, and like you're gonna have a better vessel to carry it in, to store it in for the long term. And I think it's a better product still.
Why do you think there's been that movement push? Why all this canned wine right now?
Alternative packaging has been like a big thing. Like people are looking for reducing their carbon footprint. Totally get that, and that's a big way to do it. Glass is like one of the biggest contributors to our carbon footprint in the wine business. So anything alternative to it is a benefit. We are going to do another experiment this year with, I'm trying to find the sourcing, but a tetra pack. So a tetra pack is like, imagine a milk carton.
Yeah.
And Art, if you want to pull up Tetra Pak and you look up products, I think they might have like their gable topped. I want it to look like a milk carton, like one of the tall, skinny ones.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then I also like the idea of an adult Capri Sun.
I was just gonna say that.
And so we're trying to find the product to be able to do that with. It's funny though, when you have the acid, the alcohol, you got to have a special liner.
Yeah.
To be able to keep it and not degrade the packaging and flaw the wine. And so that's so Tetra Pak does have that liner. But finding a Capri Sun bag manufacturer.
Capri Sun bag. I still can't believe why that hasn't been done yet. You got to do that.
What's funny is one time I was just thinking about this. So I was like talking in front of the kids, and I called my brother a douchebag. And this is when they were way younger. Like they were like, the oldest were like, I don't know, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And one of the kids, I think it was Wes, he's like, Uncle Charlie's a juice bag? I was like, yes. He's like a Capri Sun. He's a juice bag.
Juice bag.
So I started calling people juice bags after that.
I actually kind of like the sound of that. Yeah.
So
you would do, those would be individual servings.
Yeah, that'd be individual, but you got to have the straw to like pop in. So tetras have been proven. There are some people using them, like Joel Gott doing Bandit. Mm-hmm. He's using like a Tetra Pak, but it's got like a screw cap top. Mm-hmm. But no, I think we're gonna screw around with something because I do want to see, like that. I mean, there's that right there. I do want to see what people's reaction to something like this would be in a product that is so kind of like able to cross boundaries. And like I think of rosé.
Yeah.
Right? Like rosé, you've already got wacky ass packaging. You got rosé that looks like it's in a spirits bottle. And people are just kind of getting wild. There's a lot of rosés in cans. It seems like the general wine drinker out there is accepting of rosé in all ways and shapes and forms, right? It's like, well, I know it's going to be something light, drinkable, and whatever, and it's something that lasts like, less than a year. So why not try some other alternative packaging?
Yeah. So
we're looking at that, and then we're also looking at another one that's actually another PET container, which I'm not a huge fan of PET just because it's one of the lesser efficient recyclables. But these like the tetras are pretty solid, so we're gonna fuck with it.
Cool. And so I know you don't like cans, but what's your opinion though on like, and then it goes back to, well, I guess that they only really work well with white.
Because
rosé.
Yeah, because in rosé and like
age, I mean, you're not gonna keep those cans. It's all for ready to drink kind of stuff. Accessibility. Yeah.
I mean, you think of like when you taste a rosé or a Sauvignon Blanc, and you get like a little tiny bit of effervescence, like it almost comes across as acidity. Mm-hmm. So that's acceptable, and that keeps that can pressurized so it doesn't like fall in on itself. In reds, it comes across as like competing with the tannins.
Yeah.
Like that little effervescence that you have to have in there, like it tightens everything up. And so it doesn't work as well as the lighter options. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at with them all. I mean, box wine, most box wine is bag in a box. I think of like, I mean, I do think like Bandit, that one, I think that they really did do a good job of like actually making that a box.
Yeah.
Super efficient in transportation because it's like a square. And then, I mean, they're great in toss them in an ice chest.
Yeah.
You got some like Pinot Grigio, which shouldn't be a thing still, but like, somebody's gonna drink it.
Still coming after you, Pinot Grigio.
Yeah, I
can't hide, man.
I want all those vines torn out.
Come out.
Yeah. Somebody's
Dead
just gonna
rats
come
out
and
of vine.
change the name.
If you listened before. Cool. And what do you think about? Well, should we jump into some brandy? Because I've seen it I'm just seeing it here at the table, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I know we talked about in previous podcasts the whiskey, bourbon, and rye that you're doing, and then within that story, we kind of mentioned that it all started actually from the brandy that you started experimenting.
The apple brandy, actually, this is what it started with. So as it evolved, we, I mean, this is actually, if I were, to choose a favorite, I don't really have a favorite. I always try not to with the wines or anything.
Yeah.
But I've always loved Calvados. I've always loved like solid apple brandy, just like the flavors, and there are some, like if you use the coals, like the fruit that doesn't make it, like picking it off the ground, you're going to get that like musty sort of character in the spirit.
Yeah.
I don't like that, but really high quality apple brandies are like one of the most expressive spirits, I think. So you get that fresh apple tone. Like when we ferment this into cider before we go into the distillery, it smells amazing. Like you're thirsty. Even if it's like bone dry, it's just a still cider.
Yeah.
Alcohol on these usually is like 6 to 8%, somewhere in there. And then we distill it. Those aromas and flavors carry through into the distillate. Whereas you think of like brandy, wine brandy, like Avrae here. So you're not getting grape characters. Like you don't really get grape characters in wine. You do sometimes. Like sometimes you'll get like a grapiness, right? Yeah, we talked about this. Why is grape not a descriptor for wine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same thing. You get the characters of the wine carrying over, but those are very different than what a grape tastes like. What's funny about apple cider and apple brandy is that the flavor and aromatics of apples carry through to each one of the downstream variations or products, right?
Yeah.
So we started off, didn't have the name for it at the time, Bishop's Eden, so that's our apple brandy. So it is heirloom Gravenstein and Golden Delicious apples from Russian River Valley. And it was great to put a repurposing to these orchards because like they're all kind of like slowly being planted out to Pinot Noir and Chardonnay because that's going to yield, more, dollars per acre for a grower. So being able to have like another home for that fruit was really a cool thing to keep those continuing to grow.
Yeah.
And much like the bourbon, the rye, and the single malt, I mean, even looking at the color of this, it's a really dark. Again, I'll go back to our barrel program. It has a lot of character that's imparted from the barrels, but our barrels are much more subtle than your typical barrels that you would work with in like brandy or like say in cognac or in making bourbon. So there's a lot of character, like the sweet tones that come through, but we're really trying to mitigate like the tannin. So you just build up the front palate, build up the mid palate. The back end is where kind of that flavor just kind of tails off for a long period of time, and you get to enjoy it. But it's got like great sweet apple tones, and this is what started it. This is what started us in the distilling world altogether. So our first offering, 5 years. We've got stuff that's almost 10 years old though right now that we're holding back.
Cool. And the Bishop's Eden, the name?
The name, well, one of my kids' names is Bishop, and you think about apples, the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
And the bishop is an overseer, so the overseer of Eden.
Yeah.
But this all ties into the story of the history of California. And that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
That's so we will talk about that in the podcast sometime because that's like that's something where every time I've told that story, people are like, dude, I didn't know any of that stuff. You're like, neither did I. And
yeah,
I started reading on it. I was like, well, holy shit, this is cool. But it all started. I began. This old guy, Mr. Cali.
Yeah.
You know him.
Yeah.
And he's got this great collection of guns, actually specifically of Wells Fargo paraphernalia.
Yeah.
But also a lot of guns just from the Wild West of the U.S. And I was talking to him, and I was like in my early 20s. And he was like, just start collecting something that means like something to you, a little bit, whatever it is. Like, it doesn't need to be something you're really passionate about, something you can afford. And I was like, all right, like, what am I interested in? And I was always interested in California's history. So I started collecting maps of California. Like going back, and then that evolved into like maps of how the West was created and established, and all the variations of the maps over that time. From, I mean, you got everything, from the Louisiana Purchase, you got California as an island, you got like all these variations, and then how Texas evolved and all that. So, but really, my focus is always on California.
Yeah.
And so the most coveted map of California. Am I going to tell this whole story right now?
I mean, I think you're doing it.
I might stop it at some point for suspense. Okay, but
We're gonna do it to be continued. Yeah. I don't know. Ellen, Art, and Chad right now are at the edge of their seat.
So the most coveted map of California is this map, or number of maps, where California was depicted as an island.
Yeah.
And that was a reality for a couple centuries, like over 200 years, where it continued to be portrayed as an island in maps of the North America and South America. And so I'm looking at that, and it's like, well, what the fuck happened, right? And so, yeah, there's a picture right there. And that's like a newer version of it. Like the old ones are fucking like really crude, but it's, the Isla de California is what they called it. So
yeah,
started looking into that, and I've actually been able to acquire 2 maps of California as an island over time. Number one, they're hard to find.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
And then number 2, like you find some that are really fucking expensive. So I've got a handful of maps now that like I've found that were just trashed, and I've found this woman who used to do restorations for the Smithsonian, and so she'll like
restore your maps.
She'd take these like bits and pieces of a map, like, I mean, they're all like full maps, but like from being folded and whatever, sitting in an attic or a basement.
Yeah.
And she'll fully restore them, mend them back together, and bring them to like museum quality, and then I'd frame them.
Wow.
And so we got like a number of those, but like that's where you kind of maintain that history. But like these things have just been left for like dead, for a long time. And
yeah.
So it's hard to find those, and then hard to find somebody who can actually do the actual restoration. Anyway, so what happened with California as an island? This is where the story begins.
Okay, this is where the story begins.
So, in the like late 1400s, early 1500s, there was a really popular novel out of Spain called Las Sergas de Esplandian, and like that name doesn't matter, so fuck that. Just don't worry about it. But one of the stories that he wrote, it was like kind of like a romantic novel about this warrior, and almost like a crusader kind of guy, and so in this fictional story, they depict this island, this like mythical island that's inhabited by beautiful black female warriors.
Yeah.
And they're led by Queen Calafia. And she also is a beautiful black female warrior. And so she's got, like an army of 500 griffins. The shores of this island are made of gold and pearls. It's like a terrestrial paradise.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing. It's like the Garden of Eden. So that's where like the Bishop's Eden partly comes in. And that's how it's described. So it's a super popular story. And so at the time, the Spaniards were exploring the west coast of the Americas, and they were mapping it out. And so they happened upon the Baja Peninsula.
Yeah.
And they thought, they weren't like, you got to think exploring back then was like, they were just doing cartography. They weren't going to shore. They were going as close to shore as they could without actually going on shore and without getting a shipwreck.
Yeah.
So they might be looking through a telescope and whatever else, but like they're only seeing, maybe they're seeing the native tribes there and whatever else. And they're like, oh, it looks like a lot of very dark-skinned women. It looks like the shores are made of gold. It looks like pearls. It looks like whatever. Like this must be the island depicted in the story of Las Sergas.
Yeah.
And so they took the queen's name, Calafia, and adapted it to California. And they called it the island, or the Isla de California. So that's where California got its name. So, and it's actually the oldest state name in the United States, as far as like if you go back to, where the names came from. So California happens to be the oldest because it was like the early 1500s when it technically got its name. Now, the reason they didn't realize that it wasn't an island was because they're going up the coast and they're looking into these bays, like the San Francisco Bay, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know that it curves around
Dang.
and then ends, right?
Yeah.
So they're looking at these bays thinking like, oh, well, we're not going to go in the Golden Gate. That looks like a death trap.
Yeah.
Like the actual strait there. So they're just mapping out what they can see, and they depict it as this island. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
And so that carried on for like over 200 years in maps, until they realized that it was just a peninsula, and that it was never an island.
Yeah.
So the terrestrial paradise, the Garden of Eden, that's kind of Bishop's Eden. You've got, Griffin and Grain, a little play on the army of griffins. Oh, and all these female warriors, they all like wore just like gold. Like some of the pictures are super cool.
The pictures are amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I love the old artwork of that too.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's really awesome.
So that kind of
this.
became the theme of all the spirits, because everything is California produced, like grown, produced, aged, everything. So
Yeah.
And everything's like as local as we can make it. I mean, yeah, we got our apples coming from Russian River, our wine for the brandy coming from Russian River, but like Central Valley out near Modesto is where we grow our corn, grain, etc. The only thing that we're bringing in that's not that we don't have a hand in growing is the malted barley.
Yeah.
We get that from Admiral Maltings, but someday I'd like to have our own malting house. We'll see.
Someday.
Someday.
Dude, hey, look at that though. That was a beautiful story. And there was like, you went through the.
I think I just bored the hell out of everybody listening.
Art.
I'm awake. What?
See, he
great,
fucking muted me.
Oh, come on. You muted him?
Yeah, he was about to fall asleep.
Oh, come on, man. Go with your palate. Beautiful stories. History of California.
No, I'm really engrossed in the story. I'm checking stuff out. It's pretty cool.
No, it was a great
I gotta
story.
find a
That's
way
why
to
I like-
concisely say that story, because like going back to the spirits. Yeah, there you go. Well, so I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it should be the one on the right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we have like the seals here, just comparing like on screen, and you were saying like, yeah, the original, so the historically accurate would be with Queen Khalifa.
Yeah.
Right?
Or Calafia.
Calafia.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious. Is Calafia?
Calafia was the actual name, but like there have been
Pronounced?
variations of it to Khalifa
Yeah.
and all that, so it just depends. But like the original was Calafia.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're pronouncing yours
Well, we call the distillery Isla Califa.
Khalifa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
All right, but I want to get back to the brandies, because the
Yeah,
brandies, like, while we got the apple brandy, we've also got Avrae, which is our I'll call it our grape brandy, but
Yeah.
it's just a brandy, right? So it's like, this would be something comparable to cognac or Armagnac, where we make the wine. We don't typically age any of those lots. We'll send it to the distillery. Typically, they're picked at like lower levels of sugar, so you want to be 15, 16, 17 bricks versus like, still wine that's going to be closer to 25. What's that?
I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was reading this. I forgot like your tasting notes. It comes down to the color here. I guess it just captured my eye there.
No, or can you scroll down a little
Dark
bit? Oh, no,
auburn, dark auburn with lots of contrast, like a sexy redhead with creamy skin.
yeah. I was on a real heater when I was writing these. The nose, port, dried dates, roasted macadamia nuts, cocoa, vanilla cake. The body is medium to full. The palate, caramelized sugar and butter, creme de cassis, fig and bacon. Beautiful structure, not too heavy, not too light, but present like a good therapist. Red fruit and brown spice leave an undying elegance through the long finish. General, this is when I get to put the personality of the product into play. A well-polished brandy with a quiet, rebellious streak, like Gordon Gekko. It acts all proper and shit, but once it hits your lips, the insider trading comes out, and your palate is enriched.
These are the tasting notes of Avrae.
I'm so tired of the boring-ass tasting notes that people do. You got to put like some personality into them. Have a good time with it.
Art, can you go back to Bishop's Eden? Because I just want to see if there was the gems that we missed. Because since we're talking about tasting notes here.
Do you want to read these ones?
Yeah.
You got to
Here,
get
here.
hold on before you start this. You got to get down with the way, like with the quotes. Okay, you got to like actual.
Would you read it for me? I want you to do it with your voice. Can you do like an accent or something? Come on, this is you, dude. You're the artist.
I thought you were the actor, though.
I know, no shit, man.
Well, I mean, I just want to see how the original guy does it.
I'll take it if you're gonna puss out on this. Okay, color deep ruby gold. I'm sorry, gonna do an accent right. Nose, fresh Gravenstein apples, cinnamon, maple, charred oak. Body, thick and viscous.
Whipped cream covered apple pie with a savory spiced crust. Its full weight on the palate envelops. I was like, couldn't see it, dude. It's kind of blurry. I almost thought it was like envelopes. Your taste buds. It goes ape shit on your olfactory. And we talked about the olfactory.
The olfactory, yeah. That's the most important part of tasting. And then in general, as a great poet once said, from the window to the wall. This apple brandy is dripping in your mouth, covering every crevice with sultry spice and fruit. An absolute dance party of apples, cream pie crust, and warm baking spices on the palate.
Nice.
That's it.
Yeah.
So brandy, I think, is going to have a comeback. Not just like brandy, but apple brandy. And like you see a lot of, not a lot, but like there might be 15 or 20 people producing quality brandy right now in the U.S. And it's funny, though, because we don't have like, there's no real regulation on how to process or make brandy, right? That's one of the issues we have. You go to Cognac and Armagnac, and those differentiate themselves because there is such a traditional element to how they do it. So that's where regulation, which I fucking hate regulation, as you know, but like we got to have something in place, and I think that's going to be next in what the focus will be with the brandy producers is how do you go beyond just the age statement, just the call out of where the grapes are grown, just the varietal or whatever else. Like we can say VSOP, XO, etc., depending on the age, but we don't have anything to differentiate a brandy that's, you know, Paul Masson at like $8 a bottle versus a fine brandy that's, you know, $100.
Yeah.
From like Germain Roman, which they produce like some world-class, like best-of-class brandies compared to all brandies across the world that I've tasted. And so, you know, I think we'll get there. But I think overall, once we get this kind of consortium of producers to actually start talking and figure out what it is that's important, then we'll be able to get some bones around this thing. And you know, I think the migration of people from clear spirits like vodka and gin up to brown spirits like whiskey, bourbon, rye, and then where do you go from there? Well, you're going to probably continue to enjoy some beer, some wine, and experiment with other brown spirits. Yeah. And I think brandy, in my personal opinion, is a little more expressive of the base product than whiskeys. So whiskeys are corn-based, right? Brandies are fruit-based.
Yeah.
That's the simple way to look at it. Typical just brandy is grape, and then anything else beyond that, it would be like apple brandy. You call out with the apple brandy. But then there's confusing aspects to it. You got like Applejack, which can be cut with vodka, which is going to be like an apple brandy that's been cut with vodka to either, I don't know, get the alcohol up or whatever. It doesn't taste very good. But yeah, I think that there's going to be a big resurgence in brandy in general, just because, you know, number one, we're seeing like mixologists and bartenders like gravitate towards it because you can make some really fun drinks, like, you know, an apple brandy sidecar, and you know the garnishes you can do are a little more fruit driven than what you would do with whiskey, and it's just like it's evolving as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're happy to get in the
there's
game.
Like, there's a big boom. It's been, I mean, I think it's just looking at rising too. I mean, we're seeing more like brandy houses, especially like in downtown Napa, and it's like really coming up. And I think that's just, I mean, again, I think it's another with the whole craft cocktails boom, and also there's like a rise, I think, in people going back to like some of these historical things that started it all. You know what I mean? These spirits that like, instead of we finally fell away from all the flavored vodkas, right? That era is over. So now we're going back to the old school.
Dude, that was a horrible time for. I didn't really like many of those at all.
Yeah.
Walk into a liquor store and you got like a fucking 1,000 options of Pinnacle.
I know.
You're like, does everybody need bacon and cookies and cream? Like, no. Why don't we just stick with like, you can infuse your own vodka because it's that easy.
Cool, man. I'm glad we got to talk about like what started it all for the distillery, and now you have like all these multiple spirits out there. How are you welcomed into the spirit world? You know, being like do you get anything like the wine guy? You're coming in, they're like, oh.
No, you know, it's like.
Are they like welcoming? Is it?
It's a really there's
it's
like
fun, right?
Yeah, there's great camaraderie. Like they want more people in it. Like that's how I've always felt about it. So
yeah.
and we're all sharing information. Like there's no secrets. Everybody's kind of like, wants to evolve the industry. Yeah, so I've felt really really good about it. I do think that we have had some of the gatekeepers kind of be like, "Oh, Joe Wagner, you think you can go make spirits now because you've done okay with wine?" It's like, well, no, we actually are dedicating. Like, we could have released something way early.
Yeah.
We decided to sit on inventory for going on 10 years now, and finally made our first release. And it's like, what was the point of that? Well, we knew we could have launched a gin or an early aged whiskey or whatever, right? But I felt like if we're truly we are a craft distiller. That's our license. If we're truly a craft distiller, let's just wait until we're ready with like a decent lineup.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot of other variations coming out, from age statements to different mash bills to different single malts, all that. But, when we finally were like, all right, what is it that we want to start with? It was like, okay, these are all tasting awesome. Let's start with these five brown spirits. And that's kind of what we ended up with.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's even more to come, so that's exciting.
I actually got to go and do some work.
Okay. All right, real quick, horrible.bosses@coppercane.com. Send us your stories so we can talk about them, get some insight, and just, talk some shit, maybe learn from them. Yeah, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, here we go. I got some options here to go through.
Yeah, you got some options.
There's one about a boss that's a dictator. That looks pretty good.
Do that one.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, let me go to that one. I think that's a good one. Let me see. Okay, yeah, let's jump into this. Okay. This is and we never mentioned the names of the people writing these.
Oh yeah, they're all anonymous. So,
yeah.
send them in. Feel free.
So I got one. My boss at the time, total dictator. And to make things worse, he played favorites like it was an Olympic sport. I like the writing so far. Oh, and did I mention he was a functional alcoholic? Yeah, most mornings he had a serious case of the flu, in quotes, and not just on Mondays, mind you.
Huh?
Can you imagine what a gem of a boss he was? He pulled some ridiculous stunts, like when his favorite employee was slacking off on a project and spending half his time playing on his cell phone. Mr. Boss Man would say nothing about it. But guess what? The moment that guy took a day off, I was told to step in and work on the project. And what does the boss say to me? Make sure you're working and not on your phone. Seriously? I didn't even have internet on my phone like his precious favorite did. A little jealousy going on here.
Yeah.
The other guy must have, given a really good blowjob.
It's also kind of interesting. You have internet on your phone. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
that guy would be texting 100 times a day and looking up all sorts of inappropriate stuff like monkeys making out. Like a lot of monkey stuff. I kid you not.
Wait, what?
That's actually written here. Like monkeys making out. Like a lot of monkey stuff. I kid you not.
Yes.
Okay. When the company hit a slow period and some of us got laid off, I decided to get a PC certification and go back to school full time. But guess what? I got recalled by the company, and since I hadn't found other work, I took them up on the offer. So there I was, juggling work and school, showing them my shiny PC cert, and you know what? The boss was genuinely surprised when I handed in my notice on one day. Can you believe it? After all the times I stayed late or missed classes for work, and after seeing temps getting hired on making more money than me, even though I had more responsibilities. That boss did absolutely nothing to make things fair, and then acted all shocked when I quit. Between the favoritism, the unequal pay, and the fact that I was advancing my skill set, it was clear that boss wasn't paying attention to his employees. Turns out other guy got his CCNA certification. I'm not sure what that is. And
Cisco Certified Network.
Cisco Certified Network?
Associate.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is a guy that works in IT.
Was not I, oddly enough.
I heard that. I heard that through the grapevine. Guess. So the other guy, the favorite, so to speak, got his CCNA and bailed just a few weeks after he did. Hear that through the grapevine, but guess the boss got what he deserved. All right, so playing favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, I work with people that I don't like, and I work with people I do like.
Oh wow. What?
Yeah.
Are we having a moment right now?
No, you got to leave your ego at the door, no matter what.
Why are you? You like just.
I'm just staring you down right now.
Wholeheartedly staring me in the eyes when you said
What
I
is
work
that?
with
Yeah,
people
we're
I
people
don't like. This is
my thing when you like come into work, right? And like we still have this playing out like all the time at every level of the company.
Yeah.
And the ego gets in the way, right? There's always like a power struggle between people. There's always like, and like somebody wants it exactly this way and the other person wants to tweak it that way. And then there's like infighting and there's back talking and like whatever, like, it's just all bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's like leave your ego at the door and do what's right. And so like when I start getting chirping in my ear, I'm like, I trust your opinion, but I want to hear the other side. And so it's always like, that I think that's a good way to not play favorites.
Yeah.
Like you can't just take everything with 100% of like certainty like all the fucking Gen Z do. It's like, oh, I heard it on the internet. It must be true. So yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. I think maybe it was a bit mismanaged. But I think the guy did the right thing of, we went and got a certification and then booked it. But there's like other stories where it's like, are you making your intentions clear to the boss?
Yeah.
And I think that's something a lot of people don't do. It's like you go to whoever your, whatever supervisor or the boss or whatever, and it's like, this is what I want to do. What am I missing to get there?
Communication.
It's communication.
Yeah.
But I mean, no joke. This just happened to another like person I know, and they were working towards a upper management position.
Okay.
In a company. And I had been telling her for like the last year, like you've got to let your boss know your intentions, what you want. And there was a role that was open for a couple, like 2 years that they were waiting to fill. And it's like, you got to like let him know, like, this is what you want. This is what you foresee. How can you get there? And she always would just like she'd be scared to talk to him.
Okay.
It's like, all right, so on and so forth. And so this goes on, and like we've had multiple times of these same conversations. So this is only like the last 2 weeks. And I find out from her that from another location, same company, another location, a manager that performs less than her got promoted to this upper management role, overseeing all the locations in the Bay Area. And his performance is like absolutely like less. So she's broken up about it, and like just kind of like, I mean, this guy could have been there talking to the boss about like, this is what I want to do, and making his desires known. Meanwhile, you got somebody over here who's a better performer that's not bringing it up and not communicating.
Yeah.
So I think that communication, it does come down to that. You're never going to be able to fix an ego. You got to work around that, but usually, I usually just try to ignore them and get to the bottom of it. But you also got to be able to communicate what it is that you want. I think that's it.
Isn't this like a squeaky wheel deal?
The squeaky wheel thing gets annoying, okay? Because that's like, if one thing is like, if you're a squeaky wheel for the right reasons and you're growing, and it's like, okay, what can I do next? What can I do next? What can I do next? Like you keep achieving, then that's a great thing. Like that's a great outcome, and that's somebody who's going to go through the ranks. But if you got the squeaky wheel who's just like,
well, you can't be a squeaky wheel that's a flat tire.
So like.
You know what I mean? Like you can't.
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical situation. There's like somebody that works like at the front desk, and they're like, I really don't like this job. Like, can I do something else? Like, oh yeah, nice person. Okay, let's see what else you can do. How about we move you into marketing, special events, whatever else, and you're just kind of like not really getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Then at some point you're not happy yourself, and you keep trying to jump around in different positions until finally you realize like I'm just not going to be happy here.
Well,
but that's a personal problem.
I've seen a lot what you do, which I've actually commended you on in the past, is that I feel like you do give chances for people to be in a spot and not feel they're in the right place and want to go and see if they can discover something else in another department. And you've done that already multiple times and allowed people to move, say, from like financing to production.
And like that one,
and watch them, and then watch them. And also, I feel like you want them to succeed, and so you kind of like, and then it's great to watch them flourish, right?
Yeah, and you look at like something like that where, okay, you've been working in finance, you're very organized and detailed, like, and you want to get out of that because you don't like the desk job, and you want to be a little more active in what you're doing. It's like, cool, we know you're a good person, you like working here, let's try you out over in this area and
Yeah.
see if you like it. And then hopefully it's a fit. And like in that case, the person fell in love with it, and it was like, you know, I mean, totally thrived, totally made a big impact in the production department.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. You got to like, people get degrees in shit that they don't know that they want to do for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Right? It happens like all the time.
Yeah.
I bet
Oh,
I
yeah.
bet you it's like 75+%.
Well, I think that
People have degrees. They're like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? I hate this job.
you still think that you know everything. You don't realize, I think, when you're that age or when you're young too, and you're starting to decide,
Yeah.
you know, what degree you're going to go for, that you can still be impressionable, and you know, you're still growing. You're still figuring out yourself. You know.
I mean, I would say maybe the best thing that could be done is like go work a job for 6 months, like in a cubicle, full time. Like you're just sitting there hacking away at the computer nonstop. And if you're cool with that, that's going to tell
Yeah.
you a lot about where maybe you want to go. Maybe you want to go into finance, whatever it is. But some people are just like, dude, they can't live in that environment. Like they got to be out and doing stuff. And like that's me. I can't sit down and sit on a computer for a long time.
Sedentary lifestyle? No, dude, that's like gonna kill you.
Well, it's not sedentary. So I mean, it's like, I mean, people are like wired one way or another. But you gotta. It's almost like, don't think about what it is you want. Try to find out what you don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question of the day: what % of college graduates work in their field of study? Answer: 46%. That's much better than I thought.
Oh.
I agree. I was surprised by that as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note,
Thank you, but we'll just end on that awesome
we're gonna.
statistic.
That's awesome stat. Thanks, Art. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening in. Again, send us your ideas. We want to know what you guys want to hear from us.
Yes.
And you know, maybe we'll even do one of these like on the road sometime.
Yeah.
We got to bring some guests in too.
Yeah, we got some guests
I
coming.
want to talk about trademarks and patents with. I'm serious. I know it sounds boring as shit, but dude, if you're curious about it, because of the TikTok thing, somebody kept like talking shit about like, oh, that's trademark wax, whatever. It's like, dude, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, with Maker's Mark.
Yeah,
all
and
that
so
stuff.
I want to
Yeah.
explain all this shit.
And also, when I brought you to your attention after taking CPR class, that Heimlich. The Heimlich is actually trademarked. I actually don't even know if I can say that Heimlich maneuver. Can I do that?
Now we owe Mr. Heimlich money.
No. Well, I'm just saying I can say it in that reference. All right. So now, like, if you're gonna like try to save someone, you're saying, do the grab, squeeze, push up, down, shake and roll.
We'll call it the wraparound prom pose aggressive pull up.
That's better. That's the winner.
All right, signing off.
All right.
See y'all later.
Peace.